Hello everyone. So yesterday we talked about one of my favorite books, a book that was very significant in my life. And tonight Sadie is going to talk to you about her favorite book, which is this one.
I guess it's not my favorite book, but
One of your
definitely
favorite.
an influential / educational book.
You want to say why?
It kind of ties into what we were talking about yesterday, where, do you remember we were talking about how, when we do what other people expect us to do or become what other people expect us to be, we lose touch with ourselves.
Yeah.
Right? Well, this book talks about what happens to the human body and the health of the human body when we are stressed because of the psychological influences that we adopt when we're young. So he talks about suppression of anger as being a really big cause of chronic illness, and there's scientific studies to back it up, written by Gabor Mate, and he's a doctor. So, but I thought we could do what we did yesterday, where we open like a random page and read a little bit.
Yeah.
My glasses. Oh.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, I'll start first this time. So, my eyes landed on this paragraph. I'm gonna read it.
Okay.
I could feel no resentment, in quotes, reveals the young man's rage at his father. In psychotherapy, one often sees this kind of confirmation by denial. The speaker spontaneously reports not feeling a certain emotion, usually anger, that he had not been asked about in the first place. This self-report would be more valid than he knew. While it is true that he could feel no resentment, that was so only because his awareness of feeling had been impaired long ago. He would be reporting, albeit unwittingly, that his rage lay beyond the bounds of consciousness. The negative assertion, I could feel no resentment, represented an internal conflict between that rage and the forces of repression.
Let's explain what that was, because it's written like a little bit different ways.
Exactly.
To summarize, the man comes in saying, I could feel no resentment, and what he's saying is the only reason he can't feel the resentment is because he's suppressed. He's repressed that anger, that rage long ago. So now he can't even feel it anymore. Not consciously. Yeah. But the resentment is still there. Yeah. Can you relate to this in any way? Like the repression of anger?
Yes. I wasn't angry at all, like growing up. Because of course there was one of my parents, I don't want to say whom exactly, but that was already very broadcasting very loudly their emotions. So in order for me to feel safe, I was always repressing my own emotions, if you know what I mean. So I was basically repressing a lot. I was repressing for that reason. I was repressing also because I wanted to be loved. And back then we grew up with the idea of repressing emotions in general, right?
And so you felt no resentment at all?
I felt no resentment. I couldn't feel in that moment, but when I was older, much older, I started seeing things differently, so I started resenting it. I started being angry, and that corresponds exactly when I started rediscovering myself. That when I put myself onto that journey, this came along as well. This awareness of having repressed so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you?
Oh, about the same thing?
Yeah. Oh, no, open and let's see where it lands.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. Okay, this is a little bit more difficult because the other one was like literally page for page a different topic.
Actually, the other one is supposed to be like that.
Yeah.
You open one day and...
This isn't like that, but we're just doing it anyway.
Yeah.
Let me read this. My eye just went here.
Okay.
A fundamental concept in family systems theory is differentiation, defined as the ability to be in emotional contact with others, yet still autonomous in one's emotional functioning. The poorly differentiated person lacks an emotional boundary between himself and others, and lacks a boundary that prevents his thinking process from being overwhelmed by his emotional feeling process. He automatically absorbs anxiety from others and generates considerable anxiety within himself. The well-differentiated person can respond from an open acceptance of her own emotions, which are not tailored either to match someone else's expectations or to resist them. She neither suppresses her emotions nor acts them out impulsively. Cool.
Yeah, very
That's
cool.
pretty cool. That's kind of what we were talking about
Yesterday as well.
Yeah. So this whole concept of differentiation,
Yeah.
or another way to put it is healthy boundaries.
Yeah.
Like the ability to have a sense of self that's separate from the people around you.
Mm-hmm.
He talks a lot about this in the book,
Mm-hmm.
and how important it is for the health, like the physical health of the body,
Yeah.
to be able to have that sense of self. I find this really a problem, especially when you're raised by more narcissistic individuals,
Mm-hmm.
because they have such a strong presence, such a strong sense of self, that it kind of diminishes yours,
Mhm.
your ability to have a sense of self separate from theirs, because being different from them will make them angry, or like...
Would you make a difference between a strong sense of self and a strong sense of the ego in people in general? Because I tend to make a difference between ego and
guess.
self.
Yeah.
Self is almost like, for me, it's the soul, the pure soul that inhabits the body, and that's what I call personally self.
Yeah, but I think it's harder to
But
have...
ego is something that is more tied to this materialistic world, and it's needed to survive the world. That's why success and material possessions are very important, because it's part of the success, and the survival.
I mean, it's hard to... I don't know if I can put it like that, because
Mhm.
you're not born with a very strong sense of self. Yeah, like your sense of self develops as you get to know you versus the others. Like, you don't know who you are until you realize, oh wait, that person likes blue, I like red.
Mhm.
So what makes me is that I like red. So you get to know yourself. You develop that sense
Exactly,
of self.
self.
But if you're raised by people who are very imposing of themselves onto you,
Mhm.
then maybe you don't get the opportunity to discover that sense of self.
As I was saying before, I make this difference. I think that when they are driven by that ego, that's what I call ego, they don't have a sense of self either. They have a very strong they have a very strong awareness of their ego. They're aware of their ego.
Okay.
I shouldn't say aware, like they have a very strong sense of their ego.
Yeah, that
and
makes
that
sense.
steers, so that is reflected upon the kids. You're gonna become a doctor, you're gonna become this and that, or you're gonna become a dentist, or you're gonna become, and they force you to study, and they force you, instead of helping you discovering your own self, which is everything but studying, become rich, become this and that.
Yeah.
That's my difference when I talk about these things usually.
Yeah, that's the superficial side of it. That's the obvious side. What is more subtle, and I think what's more subconsciously imprinted, is like when there's intolerance towards the expressing of emotion. Like, imagine living in a family where if you get angry, you'll be like, very violently shut down with violence and all of these things. That causes that suppression of self, and the suppression of that identity, I guess.
Right.
Because if you were to be authentic in that moment, then your life might be in danger. You know? That's more
exactly.
so it's a very deep, intrinsic.
Yeah. And in that
thing.
moment,
Yeah.
the parents don't ask, wait a second, why is my child angry at me? There must be something that I'm doing that makes my children angry, And
No, they just don't have a tolerance of that. Like,
they don't have a tolerance because they follow a rule, right? Oh, this is a sign of disrespect.
yeah.
So it's again an egoic thing going on there, instead of let's discover the self. Let's discover what pushes them to be angry and what I'm doing that makes them angry. So in the end, it's a person who doesn't support and guide you towards your self-discovery. Self-discovery is a person who hasn't discovered themselves. That's my conclusion.
Yeah,
yeah.
actually, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah, very strong.
Maybe we
egoic
steer a
personality.
little bit.
Yeah, definitely. With you, we always.
Always. Let's go somewhere else.
Yeah.
What is the conclusion of the book, by the way? I mean, what? So he's describing all these things about repression, repressing your emotions and everything. What happens if you repress so much?
So this is the basic synopsis of the book, is that the less basic differentiation a person has attained, which means like the less they can differentiate between themselves and others, having that sense of identity, that sense of self, the more prone he is to experience emotional stress and physical illness. Those people who were trained from a young age to suppress themselves and to cater to other people, they have so much emotional stress without being consciously aware of it. They'll say, I'm fine, I feel great, that it has these physical illness side effects.
Yeah.
And this is what his work is really about, studying that and proving that in a scientific way.
Yeah.
Which I find incredibly interesting, because it's not so random, like which people get which illnesses. That's what he talks about. It's really fascinating, where, you know, he studies a group of people who have the same illness, and they have this very particular character trait in common, which is, for example, being selfless. They just give and never take. And these are very like appreciated character traits in our society, right? Like, people are like, wow, he's so selfless, he's so giving, and they're exalted. But that's what's causing that particular illness. It's just fascinating. I don't know, was this too brainy? I hope this wasn't boring. Definitely my book is more brainy than yours. Yours was like more like connect to the source of everything that unites within, like stuff like that. Meditate on love.
Why not? I mean,
mine is like Professor blah 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 presents that. Anyway, I guess that's it for today. We're coming to the end of Vlogmas. Tomorrow is our last day.
Yeah.
I'm kind of relieved.
I mean, yeah.
I'm so tired, but it was I think it was.
We're
a
not
good
going
month.
to abandon you. I mean, it's not that we finish Vlogmas and then you're gonna hear from us in a month. We'll do our best to be more frequent on this channel. So, because we love you guys and we love your comments and we love your support, and
it's been fulfilling to post every day.
Yeah.
I like the interaction.
Yeah. So
I'll see you tomorrow.
See you
I guess
tomorrow.
for the last day of Vlogmas.
Yeah. Bye.
I'm not kissing you because you don't want.
Yeah. I said, do we have to kiss everything, or it's like the same thing, like a script?
Kiss me on the cheek.
Okay.